You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Scott.
I'm feeling a bit evil tonight.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's gonna work with my blown voice, because as we were just talking about, literally seconds before you turned on the on switch for the show, that my voice is blown. We kind of had a rough weekend.
Clickety click.
Yeah, clickety click.
Yeah.
Your voice is always blown because there's just things being just, well, you know.
Well, no, my throat's getting lubed every day.
So yeah, we got to really, I think let's just get this out of the thing. Whatever. I'm not formulating sentences proper right now. We have a very dear friend of ours here at the studio tonight, though, Mr. Keith.
Hi, hello, Keith. I am Keith.
And we have a really cool topic we're going to be discussing tonight. And happy Halloween. Let's do that part.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
It's Devil's Night.
It's Devil's Night, y'all.
Why am I not sitting on the roof of my house with a gun? I don't know.
Because that shit doesn't really happen where we live very much, you know.
Well, I forgot what year it was where it became Angel's Night or something like that. Like, remember that whole switch over? Like,
yeah,
we're going to change this whole idea. It's Angel's Night now. And somehow things won't be burnt down anymore.
Yeah, no.
But really, it was a positive thing because, historically speaking, things have changed a lot when it comes to that. Now, back in the 80s, remember those days?
Well, when I didn't leave Michigan until 98 or so, and I thought that Devil's Night was a holiday. I thought it was part of Halloween.
Yeah.
And it was like Christmas Eve. It's Halloween Eve.
Yeah.
And I went out west.
Yeah, you're right. It was when we were kids, it was like, it's just part of Halloween.
Right. I went out west to San Francisco, and I mentioned Devil's Night to someone, and they're like, what are you talking about?
It don't exist anywhere but here.
Yeah, it's a Detroit thing.
It's a Detroit thing. Literally, it's a Detroit thing. And that's blown my mind because, like when I travel, people still ask that. Like, so you guys have this thing called, like, Devil's Night. What's up with that? I'm like, well, I thought it was like the whole damn country burnt down.
Yeah, but it isn't. It really is a
Detroit thing. Yeah.
A Michigan or a Detroit thing. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
It's just like Burners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Faygo.
And
Town Club.
Stroh's Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Town Club. That was the stuff.
Yes.
That was my favorite. But this is not a nostalgia show. This is a show that's moving forward.
Yes.
And we're moving forward. And then Chris,
well,
you look good.
Thank you. I just got back from working out with Thor.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you had to have been shaking people down this week.
Yeah.
For the news.
Yes.
What do we have in the news this week?
Well, before the news, we got a couple of promotional things we do need to mention.
Oh, yeah. Pay the bills.
The Flint Institute of Arts has a new Friends of Modern Art series that's running from October through June. So check out their site for that. And then also we need to mention projectorscreen.com. Check them out. And if you visit projectorscreen.com/movie sleuth, you can get 10% off any order over $200.
And we don't need to mention that. We want to mention
We want to.
Yeah.
They've paid me a lot.
I love when my voice is shot like this because it feels so good in the headphones. There was an episode of Friends, one of the few that I gave two shits about.
Yeah.
Where that Lisa Kudrow, whatever her name was, that beautiful.
That's her name.
Lisa Kudrow. Well, that's the actress.
Phoebe?
Yeah.
It was a Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Yeah. See, I never watched that show.
She got a cold, and she was like singing at the coffee house. And like her cold gave her this really cool, rich timbre in her voice. So she was like rocking it. And then she got better and she's like, was bummed out. Like, I feel better now.
I want my voice back.
That was that great 90s humor. Anyways, so, all right, what's, what we got?
So in the news, I think everybody by now has heard about the whole Kevin Spacey thing. I think his career is probably over at this point.
How many days ago was this?
This just came out yesterday.
I have been so tied up all weekend, so I'm sorry to take time on this, but please, I've been out of the loop. So
we don't really like to talk too much about politics, stuff like that on here.
Yeah.
We don't like to do the whole, the rumor thing, but apparently Kevin Spacey tried to molest a 14-year-old girl.
Come on.
A 14-year-old boy. I'm sorry, 14-year-old boy. Anthony Rapp. Kevin Spacey was 26 years old. Anthony Rapp was 14 at the
So
time.
this is something from the
This is
long
something way
past.
back, from a couple decades ago, basically.
Yeah.
But Anthony Rapp came out. He's now on Star Trek Discovery and said that Kevin Spacey had tried to touch him and molest him and climbed on top of him.
So he just
At a
found it.
party.
He just found it convenient to talk about this now that he's on
Yeah.
a major TV show.
Yes, but apparently there's been discussion about this for the past few years about him coming out with the details of what had happened, and apparently Netflix immediately has pulled the plug on their series with Kevin Spacey.
Wow.
Yep.
The American, or what was it called?
Where he plays the president?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was some
House of Cards.
House of
Yeah,
At least
duh.
that was close, huh? Jesus.
Yeah.
Christ. All right.
They pulled the plug on it. They said they've already filmed most of season 6. After that, they are done with it because they're not going to deal with him anymore. So
Are you kidding
that was
me?
some pretty big news that came out today. So
Wait,
come
wait,
on.
He doesn't play the president in that show.
yeah, he does.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
Well, that's,
in
new,
other news,
that's news to me, people.
yeah. So Kevin Spacey's career might see.
And I love him.
I love him as an actor, but
If you're a
all
piece of
this
shit
stuff-
as a person, it makes it hard to love you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jigsaw topped the box office this weekend, but actually saw a series low. It only made $16.25 million at the movie theaters. Suburbicon, the George Clooney directed film starring Matt Damon, absolutely
Damon.
flopped
Why?
this last weekend. It was not reviewed very well. Even we gave it a pretty poor review.
Did I get this
So,
right also? Blade Runner 2049 took a shit in China also?
Yes, it
totally
did.
flopped in China?
Yep.
What the hell?
It made nothing. They said in its first weekend it made the equivalent of between $6 to $8 million US
Wow.
in 3 days in China, where they were expecting it to be a huge hit there.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's great.
Yeah, we both saw it. It's
yeah,
good.
if you
I
love
enjoyed
big, epic looking films, you need to see it.
I love the original.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right.
Mark Hamill says that initially he was not going to come back for The Force Awakens, but Harrison Ford actually twisted his arm into doing it. So that's kind of cool news.
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, Pascal Laugier that made Martyrs, the original,
Oh, man.
is coming back with a new horror film called Incident in a Ghostland. So,
I can't wait.
yeah, he makes great horror
Well,
films.
we've jacked off Martyrs a million
Yeah,
times on this
yes,
show,
yes,
and we
we
keep
have.
jacking it off because it's a great. The original.
Yes, the remake was awful, god
Yeah,
awful,
yeah, the original.
absolutely terrible.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we watched it together, didn't we?
We might have.
We may have. Yeah, that's that. Anyways, yeah, moving
Martyrs is a hard watch.
on. Very
So,
hard watch.
in new releases this week, we're really not getting much other than Thor Ragnarok and A Bad Mom's Christmas, which I won't be seeing.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, Thor was pretty fucking good though.
Yeah.
We just got out of it, so
Yeah, you literally pulled up.
we literally just pulled up from seeing it. Pretty damn
We're
good.
out partying in front of the house.
Yeah.
And here's Chris. Hi.
Yep.
Let's do a show.
Bastards.
All right.
So, suggested viewings for this week. The only thing I'm going to say is I actually got a chance to check out Better Watch Out, which is a new Christmas horror movie. And it's just one of those films that starts off one way and then it completely takes a total turn. It's really, really good. Really, really good.
Okay.
So, that's my suggested viewing for this week.
Let's throw Keith into the fire pit. here.
Yeah.
Now, you've been busy, I know. So if you don't have anything to say about this, Keith, it's totally cool.
Well,
But, go ahead.
the newest thing I've seen is Lights Out, right?
Oh yeah, we talked about Lights
We're
Out, which is
talking about-
it's a couple years old, but no, Keith's
About a year old.
Keith's visiting here from out of town, and we're catching up. So we've been catching up on stuff, and especially on movies. And that was one of the ones we were laughing about. Is we're like, we love that movie, and I think I may have mentioned it before myself, like a movie that I loved seeing because it was a tense movie to watch.
I had no idea what it was. It was on Netflix, and
Yeah.
I'll try this, and it was a nice surprise. It was
I have
good.
not seen that one myself yet. So,
I watched a couple of things over the week here. I decided to take a chance on The Babysitter. Speaking of Netflix,
dude, it's awesome.
it's hilarious.
Yes.
It was a riot.
Yep.
It was so much fun. It was it was obviously a real throwback film. I mean, it really had that feel and look. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it was fun. It was a fun Halloween film to watch, right? And the same day, I got ambitious, and this is a movie. Like a lot of stuff in my movie watching career, there's so much stuff that's flown over my head, out of my radar, and one of those films was Cube.
Oh, dude, Cube is awesome.
Wicked.
Yes.
Wicked. So tense.
Sci-fi horror, basically.
Yeah, it was intense. And I got busy, but I watched the entire, Cube, the original one, which was fantastic. And then they have like Cube 2, Hypercube, which it's going to suck ass then, I think. And you know what? My review on that will come soon, I guess. But I really, really enjoyed
on Cube 2.
Yeah, Cube 2. Yeah, I got to watch Cube. No, I want to see, but Cube was really great. I really enjoyed that. So, yeah, those are like my two things. And Chris is taking a dick pic right now.
Yep.
For somebody. I don't know. If Kevin,
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, my username on there is
Doesn't that
long,
violate the user agreement on Instagram? I don't think they allow penises
it's
on Instagram.
long_hard.
Hashtag long_. So yeah, those are the two things. I mean, I really had a ball with Cube. I thought that was so cool. It was geeky. It was fun. It was nerdy. And those are the films I really, really enjoy.
Yeah,
So, yeah, those are my two for this week. So yeah, that's our thing. And this is like speaking of wieners, it's all wieners in the studio tonight too. We have no girls here whatsoever.
I do have a wiener.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I checked it out.
I checked. He verified.
I verified. Like, there's only wieners tonight. No. No, yeah, well, I miss Michelle. Michelle, where are you at?
Call in, Michelle.
Call in our hotline. I miss Michelle. We got to get her back here. We haven't had her in a little while.
Yeah, she'll be back next week, I think.
She's a busy gal, so yeah, hopefully we'll get her soon. So yeah, that's new releases. Yeah. Suggested viewings. Now tonight, as I said a few minutes ago, what are you doing on your phone, dude?
I'm posting shit because that's what we're supposed to do.
In the middle of
all the time.
In the middle,
you never stop. You're never supposed to stop. That's how you like.
In the
live
middle
now.
of a broadcast.
Yeah.
We're taping right now. You know where you're at.
I know.
What planet are you on?
I don't.
No, you got the phone down now. I called your shit and you stopped.
No, I'm gonna keep going.
Oh my God, stop it, dude. Do I gotta carry this? I mean, I'll carry it if you want me to. I mean, if you want to play on your Instagram, you're more than welcome to.
You're gonna carry long_hard.
Yes.
I knew this was gonna be bad.
That's all good.
Tonight. Now, okay, episode 66. Yeah,
dude, I mean, it works. It worked out so perfect.
I love it, dude. We talked about this because Mr. Keith was in town here, and I insisted on having him on the show tonight. And what are we going to talk about? What? The devil. Satan. I mean, why not? And can you fuck up any more tonight? Really?
It's usually everybody else hitting the microphone, not me.
And you're like totally.
Yeah.
And I'm the one drinking. Like, oh, that's the other little added bonus.
Yeah.
This is my first broadcast. 65 episodes I've done without having having it one lick, and it's just one of those kind of nights.
I've just been drinking for a while.
No, I'm cool. Now the cat's out of the bag.
Since he was 12.
No. And yeah, complain all you want. We have a complaint department. It's Chris's email.
Yes.
Loves to spooge 69 at
Exactly.
themoviesleep.com. So no, we're going to talk tonight about films about, that surround like the devil.
Yeah.
And the thing to lead this thing off, I think I've always been totally fascinated with films with, I wouldn't want to say like a religious aspect, but more like I had in this dumb thing I call life that I do. I had a small short time where I became obsessed with angels. And I was studying angels, like reading up on everything. And I just found it fascinating, right? So I've always had a thing for films with that angelic twist or the theme, whatever you want to call it. And equally films where, the devil, to actually try to conceptualize the devil or an angel. Like an angel comes up, and we've seen it in all shapes and forms when it comes to film, right?
We've
You
even
know-
seen Nicolas Cage be an angel.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Dogma is a great example. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that film, and I loved how we had all these characters in the film who were these like really funny people that like you've seen groups of people, right? Where, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you? And they hug, right? And you know, like they do that. Like, oh my God, you're the Metatron. How are you? Oh, what's up? You know?
Yeah.
And like they're just like we kind of take these massive characters, like they're angels, for God's sake. If that's your thing, right? If you assign this idea of this grand, like magnificence of an angel, and you put it inside of little vessel that we have of these bodies, it messes with your head a little bit, and I find it fascinating. And Dogma was one of those films, honestly, when I first saw it, that kind of got me into this, like, wow, you know, angels, like, are they really like they can't drive like in the prophecy,
Right?
And things like they have these goofy like things like they can't do, but they're angels, for God's sake. We're not talking about angels though. We're talking about the devil.
And the devil.
And we've seen the same thing though in film with the devil
Mm-hmm.
being encapsulated inside of a a mortal coil, a body,
Yeah.
right? So this subject is absolutely fascinating. However, what I found ironic when I was doing my research for the show today, there's only a handful of films myself that I've seen that really centered around the devil,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of stuff that was done in in film history that I've never even seen. So I was kind of scared to do this too at the same time. Like, man, I might not be very well informed like I am anyways, but like for this subject. But there are a lot of films that I have seen, and I know you've seen too, Keith, and I'm sure, well, Chris, you don't watch movies. You're not into
No,
movies
I
at
haven't
all.
seen anything.
Yeah,
ever.
So I think myself, I thought this was a really great thing that we could talk about, especially on this night, episode 66. And Devil's Night,
I mean, seriously.
beer. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is just a great vibe.
I was like, what should we do tonight? Oh yeah, it's Devil's Night. Oh shit, it's episode 66. I mean, that just it never happens.
Those cosmic,
Synchronicity.
yeah,
Yep, those
synchronicity
things never happen.
Synchronicity, those beautiful cosmic things where the planets align, and here we are. And now, Keith, when I mentioned this to Keith earlier, we were at the house, and I'm like, well, Keith, we're going to talk about the devil tonight on Real Crime. The only show for you to listen to. I love when my voice is so fucked up like this. This is so awesome, dude. My voice is so much fun right now to play with. And you immediately, though, Keith, you were like, oh, dude, the devil's
nightmare.
Now, and we're
Yes.
giving him the floor. Like, you have it. Take it all. Because I've never seen it. I have not seen it, Keith.
The Devil's Nightmare
yeah.
is probably my favorite film depiction of the devil. But the main villain is a succubus, Erica Blanc playing a succubus.
Beautiful woman. Oh, my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my God, dude.
But Devil's Nightmare, 1971, I believe. It's a.
Who directed this movie?
I don't remember the director's name. It's a Belgian-Italian production. So it was released initially in Belgium and Italy under two different titles. And but who I remember the most by name is the composer. The score is amazing. It's Alessandro Alessantoni, I believe is his name.
Well, Chris is busy playing with his phone.
1971,
Yep.
The Devil's Nightmare. It was directed by Jean Brisme.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, starring Erica Blanc. It's great. It was, it has the gritty grindhouse aesthetic of that Eurotrash era, but it's more sophisticated than that. It's better written. The performances are better. The music's amazing, but it still has that gritty feel to it. It's amazing, I think. And the main villain you see throughout most of the film is Erica Blanc as this succubus. There's a group of travelers. They get stranded in a mansion, and this succubus is seducing everyone according to the 7 sins. and ultimately she's trying to seduce a priest, and she's amazing, yeah. And then the devil shows up once in a while, and he's this super creepy bald guy, and he's awesome.
I mean, the cool thing is those movies from the 70s and 80s, they just had that look to them too that they really don't get now. They do. They had that more gritty, grimy feel to them.
Well, yeah, it's just technology.
I got to check that one out.
It's amazing, and yeah, the aesthetic's beautiful. It just has such, and the set dressings are perfect. It just lined up aesthetically perfect, and the music fits with it beautifully. It's this, really overdriven wah pedal guitar sounds, and
so it's a porno.
The soundtrack may have some echoes of that era.
Yeah,
but it's phenomenal.
But a lot of those grindhouse movies do have that.
Yeah.
That more loosey goosey.
Why don't we just say like everything made in the 70s revolves around pornos and just be done with it? Because that always happens. Like the whole idea of that, just porno.
Well, it has that. It has some of those softcore elements.
Right, kind of riding that fine line between being porn and grindhouse horror.
Right, but it's still a really great horror film, and it's actually one of my favorite horror movies, period.
Is it available, like, in any format, or no?
It might be out of print at this time. I think it's Redemption Video put out a special edition. It might have been like 10 years ago by now. I actually got a copy of the Redemption when Thomas Video closed. I went over there and bought their copy.
That was like the place to go. I think we've talked about.
Well,
Thomas
Chris
Video.
Jordan worked at Thomas Video for years.
Yeah.
And he used to write one of the guys that writes for our site used to write all the reviews for Thomas Video too.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Beautiful.
You've never seen a Cronenberg?
Oh my God! You were there for that? No,
I wasn't there. But
you weren't there for that.
Yeah.
Who? John.
That was Jim.
What happened?
Okay. Well, okay. This is a little. We'll go into the weeds a little bit.
We know
Jim, and a nice guy. We're not beating him up, but it was pretty funny. That movie Crash.
Yeah.
By David Cronenberg.
Yep.
I never saw it, and I think. You suggested it, didn't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'd just written a paper on it.
You're like, you need to see the movie Crash. I'm like, okay, great. So I spent the day doing yard work, and my neighbor Brad came home, and I'm like, well, Keith says we need to watch the movie Crash. So let's go get dinner, and then we'll go to Thomas Video and find Crash if we can. So we went there, and we walked in there, and I'm like, yeah, hey, we're looking for this movie Crash, by... David, I don't know how it got set up though.
Yeah.
I said, hey, we're looking for this movie Crash. And he's like, well, the Cronenberg one? I'm like, and I kind of, I knew Cronenberg, but I just kind of winced a little bit. And he's like, you've never seen a David Cronenberg film? And we were just like, how friggin' pretentious can you be right now?
Right.
So that's been a running joke. My neighbor Brad, who's moved since then, but whenever we see each other, that topic still comes up, and it's like and it was like everything we ever did after that. It was like, you've never drank Captain Morgan's before with Coca-Cola? What's wrong with you? So yeah, that's like our well, I think Keith has his own story with Jim, but we'll just move on. I've heard this shit.
I have a lot of Jim stories. But I did get my Redemption Video Devil's Nightmare DVD from there. So
did you?
Yeah, that film's been released here several times in the U.S. Once under the title Succubus on VHS before.
See, that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah,
The Devil's Nightmare did not.
Yeah, it was. You'd remember Erica Blanc. There's another Succubus, but another film called The Succubus, but that was years later. Yeah, I think it's out of print now. But.
And we talk about this a lot. It's really sad when these things go out of print, and then you get all these people talking about how media is going away and everything's on streaming, blah, 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 blah. But no matter what, it's not available on streaming. You have a hard copy of it.
Right.
And that really, it makes sense to continue collecting horror films on DVD or Blu-ray.
Or any film.
There's so much stuff that you can't physically own a copy anymore. So I think it's pretty sweet. You've got it.
I bet the University of Michigan Library has it,
Oh God, yeah.
where they have everything. My favorite story about that library is Begotten.
Well, yeah, and we
Yeah.
got that. You can't find that.
I went there to rent a movie the first time, and they couldn't believe what they had in there. And just as a joke, I was talking to whoever was working there about how extensive their collection is, and so the guy who buys for us is amazing, and so just as a joke, I said, you got something called Begotten,
And they had it.
clicks on the computer for a second. Yeah, I got it on DVD right here. I'm like, son of a.
We watched the hell out of that.
That movie
Dude,
is
awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's such a feast
So
for the eyes.
somehow, and I'm not gonna get too far into it, but somehow in this process, Scott and I ended up with our own copy.
can we say that without getting in trouble?
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well,
You
it
didn't
may
say
have
how.
I don't know.
Oh, we
how it
bought
happened.
copies of it.
I don't know how it happened.
We
but-
bought copies of it. We bought our copies. We bought our copies.
we
No,
bought-
we're right.
Right.
Yeah, we bought copies. So, anyways, hey, moving on. Hey, so yeah, we are way in the weeds here. How does this happen?
It's all good. It's all good.
And I can't. I usually control this better when I'm not like
There are
doing what I'm
so
doing right
many
now.
great movies about the devil.
Yes, there. And let's talk about one, shall we?
Yes.
How about the Devil's Advocate?
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty obvious one.
It is.
and that's probably one of the more popular ones too. Al Pacino, one of my favorite roles he's ever done, playing, ironically enough, John Milton.
Yep.
Paradise Lost. If anybody does any reading, there are some speeches that he does in that film that are just like what I want to be. Like maybe not that capacity.
This movie to me is when Pacino really hit that kind of like the peak of his career.
Yeah.
But when he started then after that started to slip down that valley into doing the exact same thing, yelling all his lines all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But he is a great version of the devil, being powerful businessman trying to get Keanu Reeves to assist him. Lawyer. That's right.
Yeah, a lawyer. Lawyer is the backstage pass for the world.
Yeah.
He called it. There's so many great one-liners, like I just said in this film, and there is this entire speech he does towards the end, which I could never deliver it with the passion that he delivered it. But he basically argues, against religion, against God. Look but don't touch.
Mm-hmm.
Touch but don't taste. He's a sadist. It was like, if you don't kind of go, yeah, fuck him, and like watching him deliver this incredible speech. And it's like, I know the movie really was it was a very large analogy, I think, of a lot
Absolutely.
of things, like, lawyers, and I know people that are lawyers. I have friends that are lawyers, and they do know, like, yeah, you think I'm a scumbag. I know. It's cool. And I think there is that general perception of people that practice law that they're just derp, and they're not. That's not the fact at all. We know that there are people that are, unfortunately, I think media has portrayed some of these people very prominently where they, like the Johnny Cochrans and the Jeffrey Feigers, who just grab all these high profile cases and they look like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. Right. And I think the Devil's Advocate kind of played on that idea. And then turn it into this major conspiracy, like, no, this is the devil.
Yeah, there's some great imagery in this film too.
It's beautiful.
Towards the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in years.
It's kind of sexy towards the end too. There's like some really
there's
cool,
some, there's some
there's some
Charlize,
really,
I always screw this up. Clarice Theron, Charlize
yeah.
Theron. There's a scene that really is disturbing when he came over and talked to me. That whole trip.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, Keanu Reeves' character is so far gone and just wound up in his own world that John Milton shows up and just basically seduces her.
Yeah.
In the way I guess the devil would, where he just, she's pretty fucked up looking.
But he seduces Keanu into this whole alternative lifestyle also. I mean, they were just kind of country bumpkins doing their thing until he goes out to New York and gets kind of called
you're
away.
enamored, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and that's what I really identified with the Devil's Advocate was just that, is that I know I've been enamored with groups of people in my life where it's like, wow, these are like really cool people. I want to belong to this. I want to be a part of this community, right? And that clearly was the case here. These people all lived in the same building. They were a very tight-knit group of people, and that was the elite.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get much higher than these people. So we've all been through that, I think. No matter how big or small, whatever it might be. Great film. And, you know, really how it ends, you're like,
Yeah.
my God. So, yeah, really, really cool flick.
I dig that movie a lot.
I need to watch it again. It's been years.
Yeah, it's been a while for me, too, but it's one of the ones that immediately came to mind, though, when we decided to tackle this subject tonight, too. What's up? What do
The
you got?
Prince of Darkness.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go
Oh,
again.
yeah.
We're going to get... And
Oh, you guys have already gone over
No, this is cool. But, you know, no, that's what I mentioned to Keith, because I'm like, you know, there are just, it's kind of a, I think it is kind of a trend we have. There's just certain films that really come up a lot.
Well, and there's certain films that we all enjoy a lot, so they are going to repeatedly
Cross
get
genres.
brought up. Like, I mean, Martyrs has come up a lot.
Yeah,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 comes up
There's a whole
all
damn
the
show
time.
on that movie.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but yeah, Prince of Darkness. What do we have to say about Prince of Darkness?
That's in my probably top 3 most underrated horror films.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Yeah. Fortunate enough to see it in the theater, you know, when I don't know, 12, 13 years old.
1987.
Yeah. Yeah,
So we were kids.
Scott and I talk about that movie all the time.
Yeah, and it's one of the it's one that I bring to the table here all the time on Real Crime too, because I feel the same way. It's one of the most underrated horror films of all time, and I'll acknowledge there's plenty of campiness in the film, but like a lot of those type of films, it really brings the charm to it also, right? Go ahead.
It has. It's very provocative, though, the whole dream transmission thing.
Well, that just fucks my head up to this
it's
day still.
fantastic. But, you know, one of the things I like the most about it is...
We should go home tonight and watch that
Okay,
movie.
there we go. Let's go watch it.
You bastards.
Yeah.
I got to get
so-
up early tomorrow.
We're going to do that. We're
Let's
going to
do it.
watch that movie.
All
You got a
right.
Blu-ray copy here, don't you?
No, I do not. I do not have it.
One of my favorite parts of that film, and it took me years but to really nail it down to understand what it was I was reacting to, but I felt it immediately from the first time I saw it. The first 15 minutes or so, just the way it's paced and the way the credits are getting cut into the initial scenes, it has such a sense of impending something. There's this really apocalyptic sense of impending doom.
Well, it raises the tension is high already.
Right.
You know, and also just on a more practical standpoint, it breaks the credits up too in the beginning.
Yeah, and that helps with the pace that leads to that impending sense. And it's really, you know, what's the word? It's sort of ambiguous. It's not really clearly defined. You just know, something's coming.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Something's on the horizon. Something big. It's apocalyptic. We can feel it just by how it's photographed and paced. And then when things start to be introduced, they're very unconventional. It's the weird dream. It's Alice Cooper and all the, you know, the homeless people congregating, and it leaves you really off guard.
Yeah.
And I think it's really successful.
The
for that
dream
reason.
sequence for me, and I probably said it a goddamn million times on this show now. That is the most. I'll put it on record, maybe because I've had a couple of beers, but that is the most disturbing thing I've probably ever seen in film. To be honest with you, and I don't know why, but it's how the film, it's how the screen looks, it's how the camera moves, it's the things you see. And you know what? Okay, we're talking about the devil here, right? Now, depending on who you are, if you're listening to this show, we all have our own interpretation of the devil. Some of us don't even believe in the devil. Some of us don't even believe in God, right? But that scene, how it was shot, how it looked, how it sounded,
That
especially.
the sound is a huge part.
The sound is a huge part
and
of it.
that goes, John Carpenter, of course,
Yeah, all day long.
with his sound design and all of that.
Yeah, you can't.
Very deliberate.
Yeah.
How the camera rolls around to that door.
Yeah, and the figure, and it's so suggestive, and you don't know what the hell it is.
And if you look close, people watch this movie, please. If you look close, you just see the garb just kind of flowing, moving. There's cloak of some sort on this figure that we don't know. I'm really getting into the mood now.
We're watching it. We're watching
We're
it
fucking
tonight.
so watching this tonight. We but that movie really, I mean, and it's so underrated. And I've talked to people that just literally laughed when I say that, and that's fine. That's your opinion. That's cool. But that piece, and literally, I've taken that audio, like those pieces, and strung it together, like just the dreams. And we're talking like just north of a minute.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, some of the most, you could play the audio and it would, I mean, that movie literally gave me nightmares. It did. It screwed me up, man.
I think it's some of the best suggestive photography.
Yeah.
It's very limited in the amount of, information it conveys. It's very provocative, leaves you with many questions.
And, I'm sorry to cut you off.
And when it ends, you get a little more, but it doesn't make any sense.
No, it don't.
It doesn't solve anything.
There are pieces in the film, too, with the computer, for example. You will not be saved by your god plutonium. You will
Yes.
not be saved. I mean, we get to see something that represents the devil, I guess, in this film, right? Which
And
may
it
have
turns everything on its head. That's what's great, too.
Yeah,
It-
but we get these clues like you will not be saved. You will not be saved by your god plutonium. I mean, there's these goofy. What the hell's going on? There's just so many little elements like we're talking about that make that movie. It punched me in the gut so many times. But that dream sequence, that's just the devil.
and someone gets killed by a bike.
Delivered from Alice Cooper.
Right.
Which, come on.
Yeah.
You can't get much cooler than that, though, too. So, I mean, yeah, we're really riffing on this movie again, but
Whatever.
I love that movie. I love it because of that just north of a minute of those dream sequences. That's what really just set it on its head. It just blew my mind.
Right.
So, we really, that's the movie.
What
I love
about
that movie.
Angel Heart? Robert De Niro.
Oh, man. Love it.
I never saw that one.
Love it.
Oh man, you want to see the devil incarnate on screen
With Mickey Rourke.
with Mickey Rourke,
Yeah.
basically being
Louis Cypher. The devil.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Robert De Niro is the devil, and it came out in '87.
Yeah.
and it was very sexually explicit. And I remember when this movie came out, this Lisa Bonet was on the Cosby Show at the
Right.
time, and she actually got fired from the
Yes.
Cosby
So
Show.
that's the one she got shit canned
She
for.
got shit canned from the Cosby Show because the movie was so dark and horrific. So bad things happen in this movie with voodoo and all these other just crazy demonic elements. And they said she could no longer represent the family
Yeah,
comedy.
how
of-
ironic
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
now.
right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, De Niro in Angel Heart.
Oh, he's awesome. I love that movie. That's another one I saw in the theater when I was like 13 years old. Blew my
Yeah,
mind.
see, my mom would have never let me see that.
Oh, I snuck in.
Yeah. Yeah, because see, I would have been 13 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is definitely one of
It's one of the ones I saw on my list, but I never saw it, so I'm glad you brought it up at least.
Okay,
Yeah,
you have homework now.
in
but-
De
Yeah,
Niro
no
kind of
kidding, right?
De Niro's in it, but he's not in it too much. He kind of operates from the shadows, and he is like this impending force over the entire movie, but he's not in the entire movie, which we've discussed that a million times too. Sometimes that evil that lurks in the darkness is a lot more interesting than what you see thrown at the screen all the time.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely one of my favorite versions of the devil on film.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, the greatest trick the devil's ever played is convincing the entire world that he didn't exist.
Right.
So that kind of plays on this art
Yeah,
we're talking
yeah.
about. Let's portray the devil. Well, how do we do that? I mean, if he's just now, okay, fine. You know what? I'm glad I brought that up because there is the devil in a film that's completely the opposite of what you guys were talking about, and that is the devil in South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Saddam.
Right?
I just don't think you talk to me anymore, Saddam.
I love it.
Yeah.
How many hard drugs do you have to take to think this up? And I love this movie. I mean, I love South Park.
Yes.
And this is a completely different idea.
Well, this is turning
It's
the
a goddamn
devil.
cartoon. First off,
This is turning the devil into a comedic element
yeah.
that's basically in a relationship with Saddam Hussein,
Which is hilarious.
which is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. I don't even know any eloquent way to try to discuss this. It's just hilarious, man.
It's South Park.
It's South Park. If you haven't seen South Park, wow, where have you been? 20-something years now they've been doing this thing. But there's episodes in South Park where they've had the devil on, his super sweet 16 party.
Right,
and shit.
right.
And it's what the fuck's going on here, man? But it's the beautiful minds of Trey Parker and Matt Stone that can take anything and make it funny, right? And they took a very serious subject like the devil, I guess, serious for a lot of people, and make it into this really hilarious comedic element where Saddam Hussein is his boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he has a codependent relationship with Saddam
Yeah,
Hussein.
yeah, literally.
It's hysterical. They turn him totally upside down.
Yeah,
they
do.
Turn him into this, low self-esteem. He's not this, this horrible, evil, totalitarian monster. He's this codependent.
He wants to be loved.
Weakling with low self-esteem, seeking validation from someone who's abusing him. It's hysterical.
Yeah, I mean, to make the devil your bitch,
Right.
literally, that's what happens.
No, he does.
And I remember my when I saw that the first time, we saw that movie in the theater all day long. We had to see it, and that really, it really turns you upside down. How can we portray? Because all of us here, we've just heard, we're metalheads, so it's it's the devil, fist in the air, all that goofy shit, right? To see him portrayed in that manner, it's well, wait a minute, that don't make any sense, man.
It's awesome.
I
I like
know.
Scary Devils better.
And so do I.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the scary stuff.
Let's get back to the scary stuff.
Rosemary's Baby. You never even see him.
No.
No, you see his eyes for a second.
That's right.
You see
Yes.
his eyes. But that whole scene is terrifying. That's all you see are the eyes. And it goes back to what you were saying, where most of his presence is off screen. And it's just it's an atmospheric, totalitarian, evil feeling.
That's the type. I mean, I like that in all horror in general.
I like that in all movies.
Yeah,
I love suggestive ideas.
But in horror, I just like the presence versus the throw the CGI, throw the effects at the screen all the time. I want something that's off in the background that the story is taking place over. It's layered. It's not oh, here's the devil, know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We can't go on about that idea more on this show, I think. The mind, our mind, your mind,
My mind.
Chris, can suggest things that I don't think any filmmaker will ever be able to get. At least printed to film, right? And that suggestive idea, I think, is just... And we're seeing some more of that, I think, nowadays. But yeah, let's just throw everything in the kitchen sink at these people, right? That don't really leave any type of imagination, I think, to things. That's just my, and that's kind of riffing on your idea, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Rosemary's Baby, I saw it once, and I haven't went back to it yet. I have to spend more time with that film.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now, did you have one, Chris?
Well, I mean,
We gotta hurry up. I'm getting pretty loaded here. So
I'm going to suggest a very obvious one, but this is kind of the same thing too. The Omen.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
Omen
thank you, thank you,
and
thank you.
That's
The
on our
Omen
list.
2. Both of those movies. What I like about those movies,
it's all for you.
the interconnectivity between those two, that's probably one of the better multi-chapter horror franchises out there, because even Omen
Oh, it's
3,
solid,
they
man.
all kind of really interconnect, and the story moves at a solid
Yeah.
pace throughout all of those films. And I mean, Sam Neill is the older Damien, is phenomenal, so we do get to see him on screen, but he's the devil personified.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Omen
Is excellent.
yeah, it is
And
excellent.
that is the one with that scene. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the Omen, which I love. That Damien, this happy person.
Well, I just love the fact that you get to see in those movies the his aging process and him becoming more evil as he goes along.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then seeing the devil as a young child also doing all these just crazy and evil things throughout the first movie.
Yeah.
It's really good. And that's actually one of the remakes. The remake was almost shot for shot of the original, and it really captured the essence of the original without going into all the CGI stuff. But the Omen, that is a great, great version of the devil. One of my favorites.
Agreed. Absolutely.
want-
That
go ahead.
scared me really bad as a kid because of its atmospheric sense and its suggestive, concept of the devil and evil, and because it wasn't a rubber monster, it was just this big, oppressive, scary,
Right.
and has one of the best decapitation scenes.
It does. You're right about that.
Yeah, the sheet of glass off the back of the truck in slow motion.
That was freaky.
It's amazing. Yeah,
I do remember that.
And that little
Yeah.
kid was
Yeah.
freaky as hell too. Like the casting. That's another thing. The casting. If you're going to cast a person
Yeah.
or a child to play the devil, they have to be very, very good at controlling what they're doing on screen.
Yeah.
That kid did it great. And then when Sam Neill played him as the adult version of Damien,
yeah.
that was like his first really big movie. And he's phenomenal in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that nanny in the first one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
So, prophecy. Vigo,
Yes.
don't give it up. That was the shit.
That was
Vigo.
one of his first movies too, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, and the story on that's actually kind of interesting. Like as far as how the narrative plays out in the prophecy. Have you seen that movie, Keith?
Oh, many
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
I mean, I love those. I even got into like the 4 and 5 of the prophecy franchise, which had nothing to do with it. Did, but it didn't have Christopher Walken.
Right.
I think I've only seen the first one.
See, I've seen 2 and 3, and they're a lot of fun. They're
I've
really,
seen
really
1,
good.
2, and 3, but after that, I never watched them.
I have like Forsaken and those ones that kind of just aftermarket whatever franchise type things. But the first 3 I think are fantastic. Part 1, Viggo Mortensen plays Satan, plays the devil, and at least the narrative with the prophecy is that he's not really there because he's even a line where he says, "I'm not here, you little bitch, because I love you." There's
Yeah.
Gabriel, which is Christopher Walken, wants to create another hell. And he's like, look, 2 hells is too many hells. I own hell. He's not having hell, another hell. So he comes in alliance with the heroes of the film. Because not because he loves them, not because he believes that good should conquer all, because he just doesn't want to deal with this shit.
Well, it's for his own selfish reasons.
It's for his own selfish reasons. As far as the prophecy, the angels, which I was talking about angels earlier, there was a really weird, the heart ripping out type thing. Like that's how you actually kill an angel, is you have to get the heart, right? That's one of the things that, Vigo played out as the devil. And there were some very disturbing things that he did, just like becoming so excited about murder and the idea, you see him kind of just become he goes into ecstasy, like killing something, just like he literally just. If you watch the film, and if people out there, I'm sure you've seen it. He just goes into this weird kind of like trance-like type thing, and he just did all this stuff. I don't know if it was planned. I don't know if he just kind of played it out, but Viggo really nailed that character, like playing Satan. And there's some really just beautiful things where, all those years you were worried about that thing under your bed, and it was me all the time. It's like, fuck, holy crap, the Boogeyman does exist. Holy crap. It's one of my favorite movies is Prophecy, the original one. Just because, that huge story you're dealing with. But like I mentioned earlier, you have these quirky things with the angels. Like I said earlier, like can't drive. Like these angels can do all this crazy shit, but they can't drive.
They can fly, they can do all this magical crap, but driving, no.
Yeah, they can't drive, right? If I remember correctly, part 2, there's a hilarious discourse where they're trying to use a computer at a laundromat, and it's like, okay, I need this address here, make it work. And she's like, so you brought me back from the dead, which was part of the story. You brought me back from the dead because you don't know how to use DOS.
Yeah,
It cracks you up. It's just
that's some great dark humor. With the driver in the first film, those scenes are hilarious.
Yeah, so that's what I love about you're all powerful, you're all knowing. I thought. Right? Can't drive.
Right. I love it.
Can't use a computer. It just really, it humanizes characters like that, and I think that's what, we love to take cute cat videos, right?
Who watches those?
Yeah, who watches
Not
those?
me.
Oh, yeah, Scott and Keith on a Saturday night. But we like to take cute cat videos, though, and, like add little voices to things or add little music to things, because that kind of brings them to, I guess, what we call our level, right? That doesn't mean we're above them or below them or whatever it might be. But I think like taking an angel or the devil and humanizing him like that, it's entertaining. Like here's an even better example. And this is like maybe even worse, like Drunken Rambling. But remember those commercials? And this is a Detroit thing, the Detroit Zoo. There was the commercials they did back in the 80s where,
nice going, Melvin.
yeah,
That one, yeah.
When I talk to my agent, let me talk to your agent. It's a crocodile.
My lines. I can't
Dude,
remember my lines.
we sat there. We would sit around. Me and my mom were so excited about that commercial. We would sit there and wait for that commercial to come on. It was so fucking good. We would watch that, right? So related in the same way where we could take we can't communicate with animals. I guess we can to a certain degree. There's some communication, but really animals, they're not really like, we can't talk to them like we talk, right?
Yeah.
And you think like an angel, like all powerful, all knowing, it's just like, it's above us, right? But now we're having it brought down to our level. Fuck this. I don't know what I'm talking about.
You're way
right
in the
now.
weeds.
I'm
Let's
way in.
just talk about.
I'm done, dude.
Let's talk about how cool the Lord of Darkness is in Legend.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right. There's an awesome devil.
Yeah, that's one we had to talk about. Tim Curry. Holy crap.
Stan Winston makeup, right? Didn't Stan Winston's
Yeah.
crew do that?
yep.
Yeah, awesome design.
Completely off the hook. I mean,
That's
that's
just
the devil looks like.
yeah. That is just one evil looking, great prosthetic, practical effects work
Right.
done right.
Visually, like I said, I think it's one of those things where, so what's the devil look like? Well, Tim Curry just showed you,
Yup.
right? And what's the devil sound like? Well, Tim Curry is letting you hear it too.
Yeah.
What a performance! I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You get a pretty. He gets a lot of screen time in that film, but I wouldn't call. I mean, it's not a lot, but compared to like just in the grand spectrum, I think the Lord of Darkness does get a lot of screen time, which does take away from, I think, the mystery of it. But man, you want to see him though in that
But
film.
it's it's all presented like a big fairy tale, so You know, it's okay to have it blatantly on display.
I mean, with Legend, he's the Darth Vader of the movie. He
Right.
has got to be
Yeah,
in there
up front.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just the makeup on that. I mean, that alone, it just looks so damn good.
That era of the Stan Winston Studios was fantastic.
yes.
The stuff they were doing, you know, iconic things. The Predator, the Pumpkinhead's one of my favorite
I love that
designs from that era.
Looks good.
The monster's fantastic.
And that's something we just don't get anymore.
No.
Because everything has to be like, oh, we did some practical effects work, but we're going to put some CGI over the top of it, try and make it look a little better.
a little more glossy.
Like the Thing remake is the Thing remake is probably the epitome of that whole issue.
Dude.
And then you go back to Rob Bottin's work in John Carpenter's version. It's like, look what this guy's doing with foam rubber and cables.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, you know, there is a movie out there. I can't remember the name of it right now, but the guys that did the practical effects work for the Thing remake, which is more of like a sequel, you know, because it does kind of continue the story. They did their own movie where they did all practical effects work.
Right.
And it's got Lance Henriksen in it. I
Oh,
can't remember
man.
the name right now.
Oh.
But they did it. It's a sci-fi horror movie, and it plays a lot like The Thing, and they use all practical effects. And
Okay.
it's completely amazing.
I need to see that.
Yeah, I'll look up the name before you guys go tonight. So
Well, we gotta go soon. We're gonna watch Prince of Darkness tonight.
Yes.
obviously, one we have not talked about yet is The Exorcist.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, man.
That's a
Yeah.
you know.
Are you,
You
going
knew-
to tell your story about
Which one?
the one you told me earlier?
No. That's not my story to tell.
Okay.
No. That's somebody else's story to tell. No.
Okay. All right.
We'll talk about that one after the show.
I watched The Exorcist for the first time just on TV, the horribly cut up version. Back in the day, I was like 10 years old maybe. I think I got about 20 minutes into it
Yeah.
and ran out of the room. It scared me so bad.
I tried. My daughter wanted to watch a horror movie probably 3 or 4 months ago with her boyfriend, and they were down here, and they put The Exorcist on, and they turned it off because they said they couldn't get through the beginning because it was so boring. And I'm like, you guys just don't know anything about
You gotta let
real
a film. Yeah.
horror movies. They're so used to going and seeing Insidious, which I'm not going to bash on because I actually like those movies, or The Conjuring, which I like those movies too, even though they're total bullshit.
Yeah.
They're so used to seeing this hypercut stuff
Right.
that watching an actual movie
Saw
that
is
has
perfect for that. It's
has
all hypercuts.
you know some
Some setup
yeah
and some pacing. Like, we don't hit you with the MTV editing strategies
Right,
immediately.
right.
It's, we're going to do a little build up,
we're gonna make you feel these characters a little bit.
All right.
Well, that's when you establish a character, and that takes time.
And if we're going to really feel the emotional impact of this girl being, molested by evil, essentially,
Right.
we have to care about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to see her in her mundane life and develop, get some set up some character development.
Exactly.
Build some empathy from the audience.
My mom told me when she saw The Exorcist, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, when she saw it the first time, she's like, that really warped me. That scarred me. She's like, we never had saw anything like that. And that was the cut version. Now the versions they have, these on it, and I've been fighting with somebody about that now, the version you've never seen. I think it's fantastic. I mean, there's even more buildup because you feel even more for Father Malachi by watching the longer version with the whole intro in Iraq and things like that. Right. You learn his backstory.
Actually, one of the things that scared me the most were those dreams he was having about his mother walking down into the subway.
Fucked up. That was fucked up.
Scared the hell out of me.
Well, one of the elements in that film that and I think I've talked about it on this show is I love watching that, the version you've never seen with Frederick Nicholson doing his commentary. I prefer to watch the film with his commentary over on top of it now because he really, A, you learn a lot, which you should, right? But B, his voice is amazing and he really takes you into the scene because he's directing you through it, right? And one of the things he called out was, if you notice, Father Karras is always walking. Whenever you see him come into a scene, he's walking up. Mm-hmm. Right? He's ascending.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think I've heard some of that
Yeah.
commentary.
He's ascending, right? Now, and you notice his mother was descending.
Yeah.
And that's
right.
what fucked him up, man. I mean, so there's great elements in that film.
William Friedkin directed that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I totally screw that up? William Friedkin, not Frederick Nicholson. I'm sorry, that was on me. William Friedkin actually does the commentary on that.
And didn't he direct Bug late in recent years?
I believe so.
The film adaptation. That's a play.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had Ashley Judd in
So
it.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about a while back about The Exorcist, and that, William Friedkin. Thanks, Keith. Frederick Nicholson. Where the hell was I at?
You've had a lot of beer.
This is why I don't drink.
I've had a lot of beer.
Yeah, this is dumb. I've had 2 beers.
Okay, how many whiskeys did you have before the 2 beers?
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God.
That's
Now
okay.
you got me on. Yeah,
Yep, we
whiskey
got you
beer.
off.
No,
Got you off
fuck
track.
it. Move on. I just totally lost.
The
my train of
Exorcist rules. We'll just
Yeah, it's
say
an
that.
amazing film. I mean, what else are you gonna say about that movie? I mean, you just don't mess with that film.
Now, what's the Italian ripoff? Beyond the Door? Was that it? Or
Go ahead.
where they? Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't remember who directed it. I think it's
Green
Beyond
Door?
the Door.
It's a horror movie that ripped off The Exorcist.
It's pretty much The Exorcist, just done. I think that's been done a couple of times in a few different countries.
There's a lot of possession movies that really riff on...
But it's they do the head spinning, they do the vomiting. It's hysterical.
Yep, you're right. It's Beyond the Door,
Beyond
1974.
That's it.
Juliette Mills plays a young pregnant woman in San Francisco who's going to have the devil's baby during her possession.
Awesome.
It's hilarious.
Is it?
It's a total unintentional comedy. It's
Sweet.
really funny. And what's best about it is they're trying to outdo The Exorcist. They're trying to go one step further. So all the scenes where they're trying to up the ante are just ridiculous, and they just become funny instead.
This is what I was thinking about a second ago. The Ninth Configuration. We've talked about that before on the show, Chris, which I guess the idea was that was going to be the sequel to The Exorcist.
Right.
Which I did watch that. Really, really interesting movie.
Yeah, I know Andrew loves that movie.
It's an interesting movie. And you do see the lines drawn. Have you ever seen The Ninth Configuration?
I don't think so.
The idea was that it was going to be a sequel to The Exorcist.
When was it made?
It had to have been in the 70s.
Yeah, it was in the 70s, I can tell you right now.
Yeah. It actually focuses,
1980.
1980. Okay. That was close. It actually, the focal, like the main character is the astronaut playing the piano.
Okay.
Well, that was that actually. No, that wasn't that. That was the astronaut that was at the party. Sorry, I'm totally. Just
Yeah, it's totally fine.
I'm sucking here, dude.
You're good.
That's who one of the main characters is.
When she pees on the rug?
Yeah.
Okay.
The astronaut. You're all gonna die.
You're all gonna die there.
You're gonna die up there. Yeah. That's who is kind of like the main character in the film. I've only watched it one time, and I want to spend more time with it because anything that's going to be revolving in that universe, I think it's really cool, and especially to go after a character who I wouldn't. Well, he's a minor character,
Right, he's a side character. He's
side
not
character.
like a main. Yeah.
And we're gonna make a whole movie around that guy. I thought that was super interesting. It's cool.
So when you mention astronaut, I like movies where evil takes place in space. Where there's kind of a strange juxtaposition where I don't know. It's for me, my reaction anyway has been anytime there's like an evil or demon or devil or whatever, it's more of like a tangible. I don't know. It's hard. Like an organic presence.
Right.
Like you expect that to happen in the haunted house. You expect it to happen in the church or the neighborhood. And when I think what is put in the context of space or some kind of technology that's, that is not part of our everyday life.
Event Horizon would be a perfect
That's-
Oh,
example
hell yeah.
of that.
That's where I was going, was
Yeah.
Event Horizon. I think that's a great example of that, where we have this, the kind of evil and narrative events you'd expect to find in a haunted house or a neighborhood, or but then to have it in space or in some setting that it's not familiar. I guess it becomes kind of uncanny because the setting is unfamiliar.
And it's dark as hell.
Yeah. And the notions of evil are familiar to us. The setting is not, and that juxtaposition of the familiar and the unfamiliar is the...
And then you get Sam Neill again.
Yeah.
I fucking love him.
Yeah. I wish... I didn't like the end of that film, but I
think they just didn't know where they were going with it at the end, but there's so much cool shit in
there's
Event
a lot
Horizon.
of cool shit.
Oh, it's an amazing
And I
film.
like how, there's... Those images they flash at you are incredibly violent and provocative, but they don't give you a whole lot.
They're like almost subliminal.
It's quick. And you know who Bob Keane, who did the original Cenobites for the first
Oh, really?
Hellraiser film, did the practical effects
Okay.
for Event Horizon. All those mutilated bodies and those things you see very
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
briefly.
I think the idea you were talking about, Keith, was, this when you were explaining that, the notion of evil, the idea of evil, I think is very, very old. I mean, I think as long as we've been alive as a race, there's always been this idea of evil. And so you have this very old ideology of what constitutes evil. And then you apply that idea into something very futuristic like space. Or
Exactly.
space. That's that juxtaposition you're talking
That's what
about.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about. And
yeah.
that's where the uncanny comes from. The uncanny theory being, you have the familiar becoming unfamiliar. There's an inherent conflict there that leaves you with that unease that the uncanny loosely defines. And I think that's what I feel when I see one of those kind of
Well,
scenarios.
Cenobites went to space.
Oh, well, that sucks ass. Though.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Hell,
That's
that
Bloodline.
Bloodline wasn't that bad.
I hate Bloodline.
Why?
Oh, I hate it. I think it sucks. Even the restored one, I hate it. And
Oh, you saw the restored one?
yeah, and poor Kevin Yeager who directed that. I was a big Kevin Yeager fan early on for his makeup
Yeah.
effects, and I think that movie sucks.
Oh, I loved it.
I
thought it
like
was
the
fun.
premise of Bloodline. I just don't like the product we got. It felt very unfinished and unfocused.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing
Well,
with
yeah,
that.
the theatrical cut was like an hour and 15.
Yeah, it was
That
pretty
really
short.
was like, what? I'm like, what the hell? I remember seeing that in the theater, and I was like,
What?
that's it?
Yeah.
Holy crap, man.
I guess as the franchise went on, I think it just got more and more literal. Which was it, the third one where you see Pinhead standing on the beach in the sun?
Right.
Yeah.
They belong in the shadows.
Yes.
It should be very suggestive photography, I think. I don't think we ever should have fully seen any of them. I think early on, all the notions that Clive Barker was working with, the architectonic issues, where the bending of space and the irrational juxtapositions of
Yeah.
space, and how they were coming out of that those spaces merging, and
Right.
how they were coming out of that space, and they were more suggestive in the way they were shown and photographed. I wanted it all to go further that way, and it just kept getting more and more literal as the franchise went on.
Well, yeah, they started bringing them more out of the shadows, and they were like the Freddy thing that we talked about last week, where they, they made Freddy more funny as they went on. The Cenobites, they kind of brought them
Right.
out, like in part 3 when they're in the dance club. Like
Right.
what?
Well, yeah.
No.
Well, they made them like Transformers. Like they all had their own like characters.
Right. Yeah.
Like they had their own little.
They were like G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
characters.
They really, like. I'm sure somebody at the time was thinking like, oh man, we're going to totally be able to sell these figures. It'll be totally awesome, right? I know that's what they were thinking of when they made part 3. So yeah, I agree, Keith. I mean, the first 2 Hellraiser films, to me, that's where
They belong together too.
Well, they probably should have stopped right there.
Yes.
However, I want to try. I'm always going to root for those guys. I love Inferno. That was part 5, and that was a very that one. If there's anything that's going to go along with the idea of like keeping them in the shadows, part 5, Inferno. That really does keep, like Pinhead, for example, kind of like he's pulled back a bit, right? We have this new character called the Engineer,
Yeah,
which I thought was badass. Like,
that's the one with the ice cream truck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was more of a psychodrama than anything. It was really watching someone unravel, kind of, right? With Pinhead kind of like guiding him to that.
Yeah, I'd
to that.
I'd have to. I want to watch that again. I think I just
good.
saw that one time, and I do remember that standing out among all the sequels.
It was different, and I enjoyed it. And and there was still that element of evil we're talking about here. But yeah, as far as like if it was like now, like, hey Scott, we're gonna make Hellraiser. Well, yeah, let's just keep 1 and 2, and then like just end it right there. We don't need to do any more here, man.
Well, it's funny is that photo that I sent you that I posted on your page. That new guy they've got playing him
Looks interesting.
He looks exactly like him.
Well, that same deadpan look that Doug Bradley could pull off.
Yes.
I shouldn't say deadpan. I should say more calm and at peace, but also mutilated at the same time. I find that fascinating, right? Yeah, that's the new one.
That's the
right
new
there.
guy
Yeah.
playing Pinhead.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
dead on.
Yeah. Totally spot on.
That face is calm and at peace.
Right.
In Hellbound Heart, Pinhead's female in the short story.
Is he?
Well,
Is
no.
she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the way that I read that one time, and I thought that the female Cenobite was more the leader.
But I think she has the pins. It's been a long time.
See,
It's been 20 years since I've read it.
We chatted
Maybe
about
I'm
that.
wrong.
I think we chatted about that recently, and I thought
Yeah, last week.
and we can check it out if you want, Keith. But I thought like in the Hellbound Heart, the female Cenobite was more the lead character.
Maybe that's
and
it,
Pinhead was Pinhead, male, but he was more soft-spoken, weak, more towards more reserved than being the leader that we had portrayed in the films originally, right?
Right.
We could check it out though. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I will say, we're talking about the devil. I love how essentially what they're referring to is sort of the devil. They're calling Leviathan is just this.
Yeah.
This has this
Lord of the
it's
Labyrinth.
It's this giant geometrical figure. I love it that it's not a dude with horns and wings or
Right.
pitched. It's a shape.
Mm-hmm.
It's this architectonic
Yeah.
structure, which that's one of my favorite things about the early Hellraiser work, and some of the companion things they did in graphic novels and comic books early on was that strong architectural component,
Yeah.
and how it's sort of an extension of German Expressionism, where you have the architecture in German Expressionist films like Caligari, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where they're representations of the characters' psyches. It's kind of an extension of that, where you have the characters, it's their desire that's driving the narrative. Uncle Frank, his this desire, insatiable sexual desire, and other characters' desire is leading them to the box, to the Cenobites, and the architectural components are sort of a reflection of that. I'll kind of see that all as an extension of German Expressionist ideas.
The Labyrinth also was this.
Was that too much? Too much?
No,
theory?
that's fucking awesome, dude. Are you kidding me? The Labyrinth
Not at
is
all.
this, obviously it's a structure, and in that structure it actually has an infrastructure. And that's what would blow my mind, when Dr. Chenard, for example, gets transformed.
Yeah.
Like he's like, and he's freaking
love
out.
it.
And then he just backs into this machine. And then there's this whole cutaway where we see all this shit happening to him, and he's being transformed into this Cenobite, basically, right? And I've always,
To think.
I hesitated. Greatest line in the movie. To think, I hesitated.
Yeah.
And then the thing comes on his head, and it's like maybe I should have hesitated, but there's this whole what they're referring to is hell. Basically, this is hell, and this is the devil. Leviathan, right? It isn't pits of fire and all this stuff that we've been told to that what hell is. It's a maze.
It's a void.
It's
It's
a maze
Yeah.
that you can't get out of, but you
Right.
can always see the boss overhead, right? Yeah, dude. Well, you're
why-
tripping me out now.
That's why I
It's
really,
awesome. This is
but
fucking
that's why
awesome.
I like
Wow.
The devil's
Hellraiser. I really like Hellraiser
Yeah.
2. I love Hellraiser 1, but I really like the effects work in Hellraiser 2 because when they are in the other dimension, it's massive, and they pulled all this off by practical
Yeah.
effects work. There was
Right.
no CGI in it, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And like you said, it looks
Fast.
tangible. It looks real.
Yeah.
They're actually in there in that movie. I love that entire last part
Yeah.
of Hellraiser 2. It is really cool.
Agreed.
It's a bloody film. Part 2.
Oh, it is.
I had
Bloodbath.
I had one of the big 12-inch laser discs of the uncut version
Sweet.
years ago.
You saw my Lament configuration box
Yeah,
set,
it's
didn't you?
awesome.
That thing's sweet. Yeah, Hellraiser rules. It's a good way to end, I think. What do you think, Chris?
Really think so? Well, I kind of wanted to mention Starry Eyes too.
Well, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Well,
so you
go to
can
the
do
bathroom.
that. I'm
Go
gonna
to
go
the
to the
bathroom.
bathroom.
Go-
All right, no,
go urinate.
but that's really awesome though too.
Have you ever seen Starry Eyes?
I don't know which
Or
one.
no.
Which one is that?
Starry Eyes was made in 2014,
Awesome flick.
and it's basically a modern telling of a girl. She's an actress. She moves to Hollywood. She lives with all of her friends in a house, and she wants stardom so very bad. And all her friends are kind of rising before she is, so she's willing to do anything that she needs to do to become famous or get her first paid acting job, and she makes a deal with the devil.
Okay.
You know, I mean, this is a repeated theme we've seen for decades and decades. Make a deal with the devil, get what you want.
Right.
But it turns in, it's like, it looks a lot like an old 70s or 80s exploitation film,
Okay.
and it's bloody as hell too.
Starry Eyes.
Starry Eyes.
Yeah. How
It's,
how did I miss this? I don't know.
It's directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. They haven't done a lot of stuff yet, but they like teamed up on this one. It's pretty damn cool.
All right. I'm
It's-
checking that out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of. It's another one of these movies where you get to see the devil in humanoid form.
Totally. And I can't believe I forgot about that one.
Yeah, you get to see the devil in humanoid form, but it just devolves into a series of killings and her evolving from a human into
Oh, man.
a demonic
Oh,
creature.
wow.
And, you know, she's basically, her flesh is deteriorating and blah, 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 blah. You see like this evolution, like she's going from human to a demon back into the perfect specimen of a human female.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
really, really
I totally
cool.
forgot about that one, man.
I've watched that movie 6 or 7 times.
It's so good.
Yep.
It's so, and I know we've like totally like we've talked about
And
it.
it's low budget, but it's got a great score.
It looks so good.
The whole end sequence, I'm not going to spoil the entire thing because we try not to do that too much, but the whole end sequence, the first time I watched it, I literally had to turn my head a couple times because a series of murders starts taking place. And I've explained this a couple times. Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer
Oh.
is brutal in the way they
Yeah,
murder people.
absolutely.
This movie is equally as
boy.
realistic and brutal in the end. It was like, holy shit, did that really just happen?
Yeah.
It's one of those movies where you're like, oh, it's really cool, it's really cool. And then shit just takes a right-hand turn and you're just like left out. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Starry Eyes is such a cool flick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you really should. It's so good.
Will it disturb me as bad as Henry?
No, I don't think so because it's, you know, it's not really.
It's more a slick film. It's
Yeah.
it's a classier film. But yeah, Henry, yeah.
That,
it
though,
just-
that Henry, I feel like I have to take a shower after.
yeah.
That movie's so dirty.
Oh
Oh,
God.
God.
I've only seen it once. That is like it's enough.
I ran that on VHS when I was a kid. What the hell was I thinking, dude?
Oh, dude, I remember that it was when Film Threat first came out.
Yeah.
And I remember like buying that magazine religiously, and that was one of the first movies that was ever in that magazine, and I was really into horror in high school. So I was like, oh, I got to see Henry. And I remember I rented it on VHS.
Yeah, yeah.
And was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I can't believe I even just watched that.
Right.
So
What do you think,
Because
Chris?
it hits you on a psychological level that's
Yeah.
just you're not ready for that at all.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, Chris, my time is over. I'm contracted for, and I've went over here. What is this shit?
All right. Scott's done.
I'm done.
He's done.
No, it's cool.
We're out of
This is
here for
awesome,
this
man. No, this is really
Yeah.
great. I'm glad we talked about this. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah.
I started celebrating a little early. Sorry about that. That's
You bastard.
it's on me.
Got about-
I'll be better next time.
Got about half an hour till
Yeah.
Yeah,
Halloween.
half an hour until
Yep.
Halloween.
Oh. All right, everybody. We'll be back next week with episode 67.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.